This is the Corsair K95. It is the highest end keyboard that Corsair do. It's actually the Platinum model. Obviously features full RGB, has a lot of features to be talked about, so let's get into it. So inside the box you actually get the keyboard itself, which does actually come with an included USB port on the top side, as well as obviously plenty of RGB to be had. You also get a wrist rest, which actually has a sort of interchangeable or sort of, I guess, flippable rubber piece on it. So one side is a nice smooth texture and the other side is a bit more of a grippy texture, but both are fairly nice and easily cleanable. You also get a keycap puller and an extra set of keycaps with this sort of grey and almost sort of aluminium kind of feel to them, so that you can have a bit more of a gamery aesthetic to your keyboard. Now of course, because I'm in the UK, this is a standard ISO layout or a standard UK layout, so it does have the longer enter key and stuff like that. That is my personal preference, obviously being a UK citizen, but no matter where you are in the world, they have a layout for you, so don't worry too much about that one. This keyboard uses Cherry MX speed switches, so these are the clear cased ones. These are still RGB of course, but they feature, I think it's 1.2mm of travel distance to actuate versus 2mm. I think they still have the full travel distance, obviously just the actuation point is a little bit higher there, which means that obviously if you're trying to quick fire taps and stuff out, then this will obviously actuate a little bit earlier and then a little bit quicker and all that sort of stuff, hence the name. It does feel like an incredibly light switch. It is fully linear, there's no tactile feedback at all, unlike Cherry MX Browns. These basically feel like a faster version of Reds, so if you like Cherry MX Reds and you like having that really fast actuation with a linear sort of wipe, then these are definitely going to be good for you. I do believe they might have slightly different variants for the K95 with different key switch types, so just bear that one in mind too. My personal preference for keyboards are the Cherry MX Brown switches, so for me this one isn't the nicest typing experience, but that it does definitely come down to personal preference. So as I said, if you enjoy Reds, then you'll probably like these too. So enough about the key switches, let's take a look around at the actual layout itself. So on the left hand side you have 6 macro keys which have keycaps that are actually tilted to one side so that you can still easily access them while you are using WASD and stuff like that. These are obviously remappable in the Corsair software, and it's actually pretty nice that just the overall layout and having those extra 6 keys is actually pretty cool. Even if you're just using, you know, if you're a streamer or something like that, being able to remap these keys to do custom functions is pretty cool. On the top right hand side of the keyboard you have all of the media keys, so you actually have a beautiful scroll wheel for volume as well as a mute button and separate buttons for play, pause, forward, backward and stop. And on the sort of top middle left you do also have the Windows lock button as well as the lighting button and I believe the profile button as well. Now of course, as I said, this is a very RGB enabled keyboard, so you do have a full RGB strip running along the back top of the keyboard. You can see that very clearly when you look at the added USB ports on the back. You also have obviously per key backlighting, which you can also customize in the software, and if you want to kind of do any patterns or anything like that, there are a lot available to you. I should also mention that on the bottom of the keyboard you do have a large amount of rubber padding to keep it stable on your desk, and of course feet to be able to lift it up, and you also have cable routing options for added devices that you want to have under your, or, you know, next to your keyboard and stuff like that as well. So what's it like to type on this keyboard? Well, it's pretty nice if you prefer those red switches as I mentioned before. For me this is a little bit of an inaccurate keyboard just because I'm not used to this style of key switch, and it is actually very different from Cherry MX Browns and Blues compared to obviously Reds and speed switches, so you have to be very careful where your fingers land and how far you press a key down, and actually how long you hold it down as well, just due to that actuation distance. Also just overall it is a very nice typing feel. The keycaps do feel very nice as well, obviously having that multi-key lighting is pretty cool too, and yeah, overall, besides the actual key switch type, I am really impressed with it. There's next to no keyboard flex at all, as you would expect with such a premium keyboard, and it does feel incredibly well built. You do have an aluminium sort of faceplate, although the rest of the keyboard is plastic. As for the wrist rest, I really do like this as an attachment, and the fact that you have multiple sides to it is really nice. The only thing that I'd mention is that I'd like it to be a little bit more stable when it's detached. Personally, I prefer a detachable wrist rest, as I like to have a little bit of distance between the wrist rest and the keyboard itself. But with this one, well, you can have it detached and it is fairly stable if you're sort of using the central points where the hidden feet are. It's just not that stable when you have it on sort of left or right hand side where your hands are going to be resting if you are purely gaming. Speaking of gaming, this is actually a really nice keyboard for it, as you would expect. Of course, it is certainly part of the Corsair Gaming brand, and as you would expect for Corsair Gaming, it does a really good job. The speed switches are very nice for gaming. It's something that I didn't didn't expect to see that much of a difference in, but it did make at least a mildly noticeable difference having this type of switches versus my Cherry MX Browns, just because things are a little bit easier, a little bit quicker action. I would mention stuff like crouch jumping in pub was more difficult because the timing has to be even better rather than just sort of spamming both buttons. So it is something to be aware of as well. But yeah, otherwise I was really impressed with this keyboard for both gaming and to a slightly lesser extent just because of my personal preference for typing. When it comes to my thoughts and sort of scoring for this keyboard, for me this is a very expensive keyboard. I mean, it does go head to head with stuff like Asus's Claymore, which I think when you compare feature sets to those two, for me the fact that you have a removable keypad, and that's kind of basically obviously a very nice aesthetic and nice build quality and stuff like that, is quite nice with the Claymore. But I think for me, this one having all the extra macro keys, having the very nice media keys that are actually completely separate, so you don't need to use FN. Also, the USB pass-through port can be quite useful for different things, and the wrist rest is also very nice as well. And obviously great build quality, obviously very sturdy and nice to type on. I think this is a little bit of a better value comparison than the Claymore, but it's still, as I said, a very expensive keyboard, and certainly for the more premium players. When it comes to scoring for me, I think this just about ekes a 4 for value for money. When it comes to performance, it has to be a 5, and functionality, I'm actually going to go with a 5 as well. When it comes to styling, I think this is also a really nice looking keyboard. I'm going to go with a 5 as well. And TechteamGB score, I think, has to be a 5 too, and a gold award. It is a really nice keyboard, and the main detractor for a lot of people is just going to be the price, and that kind of comes with both the Corsair brand name and obviously just having a really nice premium keyboard with a lot of premium features, premium build quality, and all that sort of stuff. So what do you think? I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. Of course, you've heard my thoughts, so now I'd like to hear yours. Otherwise, if you want to check out the price or anything else, especially price when and where you watch this, then feel free to take a look at the link in the description down below, and hopefully that will take you to Amazon where you are, and that will give you a rough idea of pricing. Also, if you want to support this channel, there are plenty of ways to do it. There's Amazon and Overclockers UK affiliate links in the description down below. There's also a Patreon if you enjoy what I do and you don't mind chipping in. Obviously, Amazon's free for you to use. Patreon obviously costs you a bit, but whatever you fancy. Also, there's plenty of other links down there too. If you want to check out more videos, of course, you can hit the subscribe button, which will be over here and down there, and of course, check out the other videos that will be over there too. And that's about it. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, if you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and we'll see you all in the next video.